Somebody told me once last year that my messages were too long. So guess what? I'm doing them shorter this year. So you guys can be excited. But I do want to get into it and talk to you guys. This year, we have this theme we're talking about is the truth. And the truth, well, that's a crazy thing. That's, I guess, why we're talking about it. But people talk about it so much, and we've heard so many different famous lines with that one word in there. You probably have seen somebody on a TV show, on court or something, where they put their hand on a Bible and they say, I swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, right? Yeah? We've heard the expression, especially like when there's like a big like game show when it comes down to like two people and you're trying to figure out who the winner is, and they'll say, it's now the moment of truth. There was a famous TV show in the 90s called The X-Files. Have you guys even heard of this show? Okay, like two of you. And there's this one guy who is constantly like talking about the truth is out there. And there's even one famous movie where these guys got in a really heated moment and he says, you want the truth? You can't handle the truth. And there's so many great lines about the truth, but probably I think the greatest, in my opinion, and my favorite, and it's kind of deep, but we're going to focus on it this year, is this line. And a lot of people don't know that it's actually from the Bible, but it's the truth will set you free. How many of you guys have heard that phrase before, saying the truth will set you free? Have you ever heard that anywhere before? Oh, quite a few of you. That's great. Well, what does that even mean? And what even is truth? Those are great questions, and I'm hoping that we can really get to the bottom of it this month and continuing out throughout the year. And so we're doing this series to kick off things called Truth. And we're going to have this phrase, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And we kind of do like this phrase for the year, and that's going to be it. So at the end of my lesson, if I say, know the truth, and the truth, you guys have to echo back. You guys got to say, will set you free. You got to help me with that later, okay? So let's talk about truth. What even is truth? Because it's hard sometimes to define a word without using the word in it. You guys ever struggle with that? You know, like if I asked you right now, you guys would be like, the truth is the thing that is true. And you'd be like, oh, I can't do that because there's a variation of the word in there. What's that? Truth is the correct thing to say. But that is one way to put it. But that is not the broadest definition of it. I want to share with you guys from the dictionary the noun definition of truth. This is a little dry. It's that which is in accordance with fact or reality. Which another way of saying it is that which agrees with reality. Think about this for just a second. I could say, oh man, I wish I was a dog because like I would love nothing better than to just like lay on the couch all day and have somebody like scratching me behind the ears. I wish I was a dog. You know, or I could go home tonight and say like, I am dog tired. But the truth is that I am not a dog because reality, the fact is, I am a human. So what aligns itself with reality? Kyle is human. Kyle is not a dog. As much as I might wish that I was a dog or identify as a dog, I am not a dog. Truth is what corresponds with reality. But why is it important to talk about the definition of this? Why are we talking about truth at all? I want to talk about one idea tonight for you all, okay? Here's the deal. Why it's so important is that there's a war on truth. And maybe some of you guys aren't aware of that. Maybe some of you are. You're like, oh, is this like that like misinformation and fake news thing I hear about all the time? Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about when I'm saying that there is a war on truth. What I am talking about is something that happens up here, okay? Something that happens up here. We have culture all around us, and really for thousands of years, and we'll get to it in just a second, but we have culture all around us declaring things where people are saying like, my truth is this, where they'll often try to define something differently than what it actually is. Or maybe they'll try to redefine right and wrong for convenience sake. It may sound clever, but that doesn't make it true because it's not what is in accordance with reality. See, one thing that I know, like I've heard some parents, like of teens your age say before, is that their kid will get really uppity about something, like not being able to do something, they haven't been permission to do something, and they get really mad, and they say something like, well, you must not love me, because if you loved me, you would let me do whatever I want. This one's laughing over here because you've said that, haven't you? Something to that effect? No, I'm not going to put, I know. But here's the thing. We could think that that is true, but it's not. With my own kids, I have to tell them sometimes things they want to do is not a good idea to do. And I do love them. It's not that I enjoy saying no to them. The truth is sometimes I have to say no to them for what's best for them. So actually, I do love you. But just because you want to manipulate that, you kind of want to bully me in a moment and try to make something aloud and say, well, if this was true, then this would be true. That's not actually lining up with reality. Now, I just kind of went deep there. Are you guys following me still? You tracking with me? Okay. All right. This isn't new, though. This has been happening like for 2,000 plus years. I'm going to take you guys back in time to the Bible, okay? I'm going to share just a couple Bible verses with you real quick. The first one is from 2 Corinthians chapter 10. You can read these verses in 3 and 5, but it talks about this war up here, okay? This war up here, you guys can read along with these verses I put on the screen. It says, though we live in the world, okay? We live here on earth. We live in this society. We do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. We're not going, out there with like machine guns and stuff, just like, what do we fight with then? We're demolishing arguments and what are called pretensions that set itself up against the knowledge of God. These ideas is what it's saying against truth in our head. And we want to take captive every thought. That's the war, is fighting these thoughts in our head and trying to align it to God's knowledge and truth. That's the war that we're in on. And when I read that, I notice three things. First off, that's for everybody. It's a we up there. It applies to all of us. Everybody has a struggle in this fight about what is true and how they're trying to fit the truth together with how they're seeing the world. Like even Jesus, just so you know, even Jesus had to fight for truth. You can read a story where the devil was trying to convince him of some things that weren't true in Matthew chapter 4. First off, we all fight this battle. And second, like I said, it is a mental battle. It's up here because we're fighting our thoughts, okay? We're not going out there and fighting other people. This is the fight in our mind, okay? And here's the third thing. People can lose this fight. I know people who have lost this battle. I see it happen almost weekly. I will get on the internet and there will be an article about like another Christian who used to believe something, but now they're not really sure what's true anymore, and so they're leaving their faith. And it's this new trend, it's called deconstructing, and I get the heart behind it at first. The idea is that people want to figure out what they believe because they believe just what somebody told them for a really long time. They never read this book for themselves, and you can't know truth unless you actually look for it, and I get that. But they often start taking apart their faith piece by piece and find the parts that they don't know if they like or agree with or they're inconvenient. And instead of trying to rebuild it on something true, they just kind of go off of their opinions and they say like, well, I took that apart. I'm done with that now. I'm gonna go do something else. And they walk away from their faith, never kind of reconstructing it. And I see that happen all the time. So I want to admit that while everybody can face this battle, and it's a battle up here, it's also a battle we have to realize it can be lost if we don't take looking for truth seriously. And here's the reason why people lose it. I think it all comes down to selfishness. Check this out. Let's look at 2 other Bible verses like really super fast. We're going to go to 2 Timothy 4:34. And maybe I'll just focus on this one because I think this one at least makes the point enough. I'm going to have some of you guys like read a word out loud for me that's underlined, okay, or bolded. So be ready when I pause and I ask you to read it out loud. It says, "For the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine." That word sound means like good, solid, and doctrine means like thinking and beliefs, okay? There will come a time, and even that time is now, where people don't want to have healthy, strong ideas. It says instead, to what? Somebody read it to me. To suit their own desires. It means like the things that they want, right? For whatever reason that they would like to do something else, they're going to give up truth. And it says they'll gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears, what's it say? Wants to hear. This is just like right now, so many people, they subscribe, and it doesn't matter like what you're on Twitter, like Snapchat, well, maybe not Snapchat, but like TikTok, YouTube, and all sorts of things. People will just follow people that are saying the same things that they want to hear. And we're not talking about just like politicians or celebrities or, you know, people from your school or whatever. It could be all sorts of things. It could be people that you are even choosing like not to listen to. You're kind of like blocking those people out and only surrounding you with the people saying the things that you want to hear. They're going to suit our own desires. And what happens with that? It says they'll turn their ears away from the what? The truth. Awesome. Thank you, Peyton. And turn aside to myths. See, often we have the ability to go look for what's right, but sometimes we know off the bat that what's right and what we want are often different things. How many of you guys have been in that position before, where you knew what you wanted and you also knew it probably wasn't what was right? Okay, so quick story. I was like a young guy in college, and I had been like walking around one day. At this point in time in my life, I was a single young guy, and I was kind of lonely, and I was walking around this mall, and I was talking to this girl who was working at the shop. Now, this was like a really weird store. Like, I don't even know if they have these anymore. Like, you guys know what a Hot Topic is? No, okay, this is a completely new generation. Okay, we have to imagine like this is a store that's like got like metal music like when you walk in and like Marilyn Manson. You probably don't even know who Marilyn Manson is either, do you? Okay, all right. I'm not going to even really try to explain. The point is, this isn't the place you're probably going to go pick up a nice girl. And here's this girl with like this like nose ring and like bright pink hair, and she's like talking to me, and I'm just like, hey, it's cool. And she's like, hey, you want to go to this concert next week? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. That's cool, because like no girl's ever asked me out before. And I was like, hey, this is going to be fun. And I am like realizing there's all these red flags. And that this girl probably also doesn't even share like the same faith as me. And I think I talked to her like once on the phone before we met up at this restaurant. And the whole thing just was going downhill really fast. Like, and I realized like this is not a good match. And she ended up like walking out on the whole date. I didn't figure out why till later. Apparently she had this deal like even when you have your own bowl of salsa, like you guys go to Los Flores and you get your own, you know what I mean? She's like, you double dipped your chips in the salsa. I'm like, but it's my salsa. I can double dip the chips in there. So I was kind of saved from that scenario. But I was like, I knew this was a bad idea and I shouldn't be entertaining this. But I ignored truth because of something that I wanted. And we all do that in life. And if we don't watch out and look for truth, we will end up finding ourselves in some trouble. And so I just want to warn you guys about this idea that we're in a war on truth right now, this war in our minds. And we start making compromises based off our selfish desires. And I just want to ask you a question. It's going to get asked in your small groups tonight as we break up here in just a minute. Where are you guys selfishly compromising on the truth? Is it something about your identity that you're like, oh, I could be more popular or something special if, I am this? And that's not who you really are. Or is it that you are tempted to try to do something that you know is wrong, but you're hoping that this thing will make you happy or at least distract you from the problems in your life, so you're going to do it anyway and say it's not actually wrong because then, hey, you won't feel guilty about it while you do it. Or maybe it's just like the push of the kids at school or in your friends group who are trying to get you to change opinion on something because you're like, well, I don't like being called those names that they're calling me for having this belief, and so, I'm going to compromise on my faith and, say, well, maybe I don't believe. Where are you guys compromising on the truth? That's what we want to spend a couple minutes talking with you all about tonight. And next week we'll talk about the trap that we get in when we refuse to believe truth. But let's just start with this idea of the truth, the war on truth, and our selfish desires that we give up the truth for. Let me pray for you guys real quick, and then we'll break into some groups. Heavenly Father, thank you so much again for the opportunity to talk with these kids, and I just thank you so much that they're here, and that we're going to have an excellent year. And as we're just in some groups and talking, we just move our hearts to be honest, at least with ourselves. Even if we're not feeling comfortable enough that we want to share in the group, that we would start being comfortable enough to be honest with ourselves. Where have we compromised for our own selfish desires, truth? And just ask that you would stir in us and help us to grow and learn more this year. And watch over these kids, bless them, keep them safe as they come back again next week. In your name we pray. Amen.